In recent years, there have been a few technologies, besides your obvious fusion and modular nukes, that have teased the general observer into thinking that perhaps they're just around the corner. One of these is solid-state batteries, where progress is being made, but where we haven't seen commercialization yet. If and when we do see it, EVs with 700 miles of range may be commonplace. One of the other areas has been the perovskite solar cell. What are perovskite solar cells? Well, they're cells made from the mineral perovskite, which is a calcium titanium oxide originally discovered in 1839 in Russia's Ural Mountains. The term now refers to a family of related compounds, and perovskites are promising in the solar industry because they can be easily deposited onto most types of surfaces, even flexible or textured ones. They may also eventually help the industry to cut costs. Thin layers of perovskite material can effectively capture certain spectra of sunlight, not typically harvested by your normal PV panels. So if you add perovskites on top of a conventional PV module to create a tandem layer cell, you can build a more efficient solar sandwich. But perovskites haven't been easy to work with in terms of creating a durable solution that matches the 20 to 25-year lifespan of existing photovoltaics we see on rooftops and in massive utility-scale solar arrays. That's because perovskites have proven to be much more fragile and generally break down more quickly in the presence of high heat, high humidity, and UV light. However, given their promise, researchers have been at this game for a while because the payoff could be pretty big. Back in 2022, I thought we'd finally reached that place of commercialization when Swiss heterojunction solar module manufacturer Meyer Burger signed a multi-year cooperation agreement to develop tandem perovskite solar cell technology with the Swiss Center for Electronics and Microtechnology. The company announced it achieved a conversion efficiency, the rate at which it could convert the energy of sunlight into electricity, of 29.6%, with a goal to build a factory supporting the manufacture of those cells. Then Meyer Burger went bankrupt, selling its assets and intellectual property to Swift Solar, and that company plans to continue the march forward, so we'll see what happens. In the meantime, though, announcements over the last few weeks have given us cause for rekindling our optimism. One company, Tandem PV, said recently it's building a 65,000 square foot factory in Fremont, California that will layer Tandem's perovskite glass over conventional panels to boost efficiencies into that 30% range. Tandem's current modules are only 25% as large as typical commercial panels, but its CEO says it had agreements to sell output to some of America's leading solar developers for field testing in harsh environments. If these trials pan out, then the company will punch out about 40 megawatts annually from its first factory. Still tiny in the scheme of things where some utility-scale solar projects are larger by orders of magnitude. But this is more about proving up the manufacturing techniques than building scale at this point. Skeptics for years have suggested that perovskite cells couldn't be manufactured on high-speed assembly lines, so Tandem's factory may prove to be a useful rebuttal. Last month as well, U.S. startup companies Kylux and Solex announced a 5-year strategic partnership to integrate Kylux's perovskite glass into Solex panels. Under their venture, the plan is to bring 3,000 megawatts of modules to the market with estimated conversion efficiencies of 28%. A beta version is already in the field with a U.S. developer, and the company plans to develop commercial volumes by next year. Increasing efficiencies from 22 to 28 or 30% doesn't sound like much on the face of it, but you're actually boosting relative performance by 25% or more, and that can translate into cost savings, especially in terms of required land and racking structures. In addition to these commercial announcements, the Department of Energy on May 11th announced additional support for perovskites, and there was moving its focus to commercialization there. Yes, surprisingly to me at least, the DOE is still doing some work on non-hydrocarbon energy technologies. It's developed performance and durability targets for hybrid perovskite PV panels that will be finalized this year. It will also focus on testing that looks at the combination of heat, humidity, and light stressors instead of looking at each one individually. And the DOE will also collaborate with national labs to build a framework for bankability that will create greater confidence among potential investors and insurance companies. So after all these years, just maybe there's a there in the long-promising and consistently vexing field of solar perovskites. This could finally prove to be an area worth watching. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.